Welcome to the Liberation Lab podcast, insights and interviews for the disruptive educator. I'm honored to have my bro on today. So why don't you tell the people who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
What's up, everybody? It's your kid's favorite science teacher, Calvin Nellum, coming from the Calvin Nellum podcast. You know I'm from New Orleans, had to move to Virginia, but now I'm in the D, chilling on the West Side. I've been in Detroit for about 8 years, teaching science. I'm a STEM advocate. And I just want to teach you all the truths. My podcast is about providing simple solutions in the classroom. And, it's just a really great conversation about me. I'm here to educate you. And come kick it with a brother, man. That's what I tell people. I got the ancestors, turn light on for me. Hold on, let me fix that real quick. And so the ancestors are watching. So let's get it.
Listen, man, I'm excited to spend this time, brother. We've been rocking for a little bit. I really want to center this conversation kind of around what we get the joy to embody every day for our kids, right? We are less than 2% of the teaching force. So the chance that a student will have a black male educator is very slim to none. So I want to start that conversation off by talking about just your experience in school. You think back to Lil Cal. Did he have a black male educator? What was school like for him? And tell me about that journey.
Yeah, man. I definitely had a lot of black male educators growing up, but it had to be orchestrated, if you know what I mean. Like my mother had me, out of wedlock. I was an accident. I wasn't supposed to happen. You understand what I mean? But she had me. My dad was not there, unfortunately. I got number love for him. But I had like 5 dads, you know what I'm saying? My friend Stanley's dad, my friend Marcus's dad, my friend Sean's dad, right? I had stakeholders. I had my Uncle Tharo, I had my Uncle Griffin, I had my Uncle Thomas, right? And they were all exemplary men, military to waiters to educators to coaches. You understand what I mean? And it just allowed me to just, be the man that I am. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't enough. So like when you get in the school system, I'm bored. I'm thinking about being a Power Ranger. I'm thinking about Pokemon. I'm thinking about Yu-Gi-Oh! My imagination is off the ground, and your curriculum is dead. You know what I mean? I used to cheat a lot in class because I just was so uninspired, right? I just was trying to get the quick A because I was told by my mom, you have to get good grades, right? I didn't know why, and eventually, right, I went to college and I didn't know why I was going to college, right? But I recognized that I was at HBCU. They telling me like, if you want to be a physicist, Calvin, you got to work twice as hard. And I worked twice as hard, but I got tired of working twice as hard because I'm like, well, I'm working twice as hard when other men ain't working twice as hard as me, and they cheating, right? And they selling their souls just to be accepted by society, would never accept them, right? And I just was trying to figure out my purpose, right? Figure out, am I going to college for my mom or am I going to college for something bigger, right? And so I remember, I was about to drop out. I had all F's through my junior year because I wanted to work on my right brain. So I took all art classes. I just was being like all my favorite liberators. I was rebelling in the most privileged way, if you want to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? While my mom was just drowning in just like sorrow, right? And I remember, as I slowly got my act together, I did this little bitty STEM all girls camp at Robinson Tech in Norfolk, Virginia. And I guarantee you, bro, I did that 7 hours straight. And I called my mom. I was like, Mom, like, I just taught these girls how to build a electric keyboard. And I did it 7 hours straight. And I loved it. And I went to sleep and I was tired for like, because teaching is a mental drain, right? She's like, Calvin, that's what teaching is like, and that's when I realized I want to become a teacher, right? And so I was going to be an engineer. And I decided to not do that because I wanted to, transform the classroom. And that's what I'm doing every day, right? Intentionally transforming the classroom, intentionally being a vanguard, intentionally being a advocate, an excellent, just black male teacher. And is it perfect? Hell no. You know what I'm saying? Do I want to sometimes strangle my kids? Hell yeah. It's like, I'm just joking.
Absolutely.
But, but I'm there consistently and I'm always innovative. And I'm an intellectual, right? And they appreciate that.
Yeah. I love the aspect of you showing up authentically. I think back to my experience, right? And similar to you, I had dad by committee. Like my dad wasn't around.
Right.
Prior to that, we had, you know, a, I come from a story of adoption, right? So my
Oh
biological mother
wow.
leaves me on a doorstep. The doorstep happened to be a nurse. The nurse took me
Wow.
in. I bounced around the foster care system. Then
Wow.
my mom gets me. My mom and my dad split up. He tells her he doesn't want anything to do with her or me. We moved to New Jersey. I talked to him once, never talked to him again. And so for me, there was a almost like a gaping hole, if you will, right? And there's this part where I'm like, you know, I'm working really, really hard to prove that I'm a young man, that I'm growing, right? And so
Yeah.
I perform well um, academically. I performed well athletically, um, and I learned that the attention, even if it was fleeting, right, and my brokenness and all of my failings, I learned that I can just get a little bit of a reprieve from womanizing, and so that's what I did for a while. And I say all that to say that even in that, I had my uncle, who's a lieutenant. Uh, what is his rank? He is a
Lieutenant Colonel.
lieutenant colonel in the
Yeah.
army. He, my um, his wife is also like, they're phenomenal individuals. My godfather, my grandfather, like I had dad by committee, and even then, with all of their effort, there was still something there that was missing. I go to
Right.
school and I was seen as the nice kid, the nice guy, comes from a good family, solid, whatever, whatever. Um, but inside, man, I'm dealing with some stuff. The only
Mm.
black male educators that I saw were teaching gym. One was teaching a shop class, and one other um, that was teaching a class down the hall. And I never had them myself, but they always looked out for me. You know what I mean? Like they were
Yeah.
there, they were
Yeah.
present. They had an eye on me. You know,
Yeah, man.
and I say all that to say, for me, I know what it's like to be in a space and not necessarily belong or feel like you belong. And those barriers, nobody's gonna like. I'm not gonna come out and be like, "Man, I don't feel. I'm not feel. I'm feeling this way." I'm not gonna show you where it hurts. But if I was invited into that space where somebody who looked like me could say, "No, man, like really tell me because this is where I've come from," I feel like I would have just. I wanted it. I wanted somebody to give me that on ramp, and I get to embody that every day now. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
But I think it's just super important about. I think it's just the importance of systems, right? Just
That's good.
having systems in place that are conducive for your your psyche, right? But
Yeah.
we forget, right? Systems are created by humans, right? So we also have to focus on individuals, right? And so the individuals that make those systems can dictate whether you make a break. I think about Mr. Reese. Mr. Reese was my algebra 1 sophomore teacher, algebra 2 teacher, and he was
Yeah.
from Trinidad and Tobago, and he was black, you know what I'm saying, from DC. He will always play the radio. Bro, you do not understand how much the radio made a difference in my learning experience. That was a system I felt, right? He was an excellent
Yeah.
math teacher. So that was
Yeah.
it, right? But he would let us work in different groups, right? He did cooperative learning. My best friend Tonio, he was the all-star basketball team. Tonio didn't get no good grades in any other class, but he got good grades in his class because what happened is, you know what I'm saying? He gonna call, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's how much, like, capital he had just from his ability to build relationships with us. Mr. Reeves, Mr. Reeves. We always make fun of him. He had
Yeah.
assigned seats, but he didn't have assigned seats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was just like he allowed us to with Christopher Emden said he allowed us to create dense networks, and he infiltrated those dense networks to allow us to teach algebra 2. And I got an A in that class. I remember finding a vertex. I'm like, I don't know how I'm learning this stuff, but I'm doing it because of you. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember
Yeah.
studying for that class, but I just did it because the systems. He had Saturdays tutoring. So if I struggle, I'll go on Saturdays and he'll be there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Systems, bro.
The Another piece there is, we we get the opportunity, right? So even now on the school leader side, like there is an opportunity to through the systems, through your disposition as an educator, you get the opportunity. Like teaching and education is an art. There's
Yes,
an art to it, and
it's a vibe.
absolutely, and in the classroom, I get to create moments of awe. I think when we create that type of space for students, when they, yeah, I was just reading this today in an Ed Weekly opinion article, and the moments where we create that tension, the moments where we create um, something that could push our students beyond their comfort zone, but they feel like it's safe enough. The moment when we have them
Mm,
imagine deeper,
mm.
the moment we have them think creatively, the moment we have them believe in themselves, the moment that we do all of those things, we create those moments of awe, and it's not math class anymore. It's not just STEM class or science or
Right.
technology or
Yeah,
it's bigger than that, and in those moments we see a maximized capacity for learning, a maximized capacity for development, and I love that we get to do that every day and embody that as Black men.
brother. I remember one time, I was, fairly on getting my degree after I'd made all my mistakes, and I remember my math department. We had high schoolers come in, and they wanted to let the college kids teach, the high schoolers the math they'll be taking when they become freshmen. And
Yeah,
so who got it selected? I did. And so this is me coming off of just, all right, Calvin, you can't get, you decided not to drop out. You came back in school, but I got a whole new mentality now because it's like I've seen both sides. I've seen
yeah,
what it's like on the good side of honors. I've seen what it's like to almost drop out, right? So I just have like
yeah,
this balanced perspective. So you know what I write on the board? I write math is God. I just write it on the board. And I sit down and I just have them just think about that, right?
yeah,
And then I kid you not, the director comes in. He's like, "What are you doing?" And he stops it. He stops it. He tells me to come out the class. He's like, "What are
yeah,
you doing? You're supposed to be teaching them algebra 1." I was like, "I am, man, but I'm just trying to, you know what I'm saying? I'm
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to,
yeah.
I'm trying to hook them in, right?" And
Yes,
that's one thing that we forget as teachers when we're trying to go over content. We forget to engage, right? But with
yes,
engagement, you got to encourage them, and with encouragement, you got to empower them. That's what Brother Calvin Mann says, right? He
yeah,
deals with males that that are have high suicide rates, and he talks about that. You got to
hmm,
engage them. And he was like, "Go back to teaching them, algebra 1." And I taught them algebra 1, but I kept referencing laws, right? I kept talking about what happens when you break laws, right? And I'm bringing it to like psychology and sociology. And the kid comes out, he's like,
yes,
"I ain't never been in a psychological math class before."
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? And I'm just like a senior and freshman. I'm just a senior in college, right? But that's
yeah,
the mindset I had when I went to go teach circuits, right? I made sure I wore my Jordan 3 grapes, right? I wore them
mm,
intentionally. I had
mm,
my engineer pants on, right? I had my Ralph Lauren. Just the lesson wasn't about shoes, but the presence was important. And they could probably know what the shoes was, but just me doing those small things, right?
yeah,
That
yeah.
makes a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It builds uh it builds a collateral. It builds a connection, an on ramp, right? Where I
On
live
ramp.
in yeah, where I live in Jersey, there is this road 295. 295, it goes pretty much halfway up, if not, yeah, about halfway up Jersey, right? So I'm in South Jersey. And if you get
Okay,
on it,
cool. That's cool.
you yeah, yeah,
You
you
from
you
Jersey?
get on
Which part?
yeah. I'm in South Jersey. I'm like 25 minutes from Philly right now.
Oh, okay, 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 cool. My people from Patterson, so
Oh, you
cool.
up top?
Great.
Yeah, yeah. I went to
Yeah.
school in North Jersey, at
Okay.
Kane, and I went to
Yep.
William Patterson for my master's. So there you go.
Okay. Okay, brother man. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you get on 295, man, and sometimes if you're not paying attention, you miss your exit. The
Okay.
beautiful thing about 295 is that very next exit, you could take it, hit the jug handle, and come right back down 295 south.
Right.
And so I always feel like, man, I want the classroom for all of my students now.
Mm.
to be where there's multiple on ramps. And if you've missed it, you can take the next one and come right back around and get to where you need to be. And I would hope that educators who are listening to, us just vibe for a second would hear, man, I get the opportunity through my craft, through my art, through my vision, through my passion for learning, right? You walked in as a senior in college and
Yeah.
somebody said, I ain't never had this before. And
Before.
they could have been cracking jokes, but they made an observation about something that they never had. And I think that speaks to what we get to do every day. I know
Mm.
education is hard. I know we're experiencing behaviors that we haven't seen or that we're seeing more and more of. I know
Yeah, but
there's
when
a
it's
lot of
good, it's
broken.
good.
There it is. There it is. And I don't want us to get to the point where we're so bitter about certain things that we don't get better.
Bro, Dave Chappelle bombed before, bro. Like, you're not gonna get it every day. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But the
Yeah.
beautiful part about Dave Chappelle is he accepts his bombing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He said Detroit was one of his hardest places he did stand up at, and he was like, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm about to bomb. And he was like, and he bombed, right? And guess who picked him up? Big Sean's dad, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you
Hmm.
you may never understand when you need to be in a position of humble, because education will humble your ass in a heartbeat. You know what
Talk
I'm
about it.
saying? And
Talk
you may
about it.
need a Big Sean dad. You may need Miss Howard. You may need Miss James to come over and just give you some game. You feel me?
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
probably know is going to get from university, but your ego or your wanting to be perfectness blinds you of that, right? And so
Yeah.
again, education is balance, right? It's just accepting your losses, celebrating your wins. Do you understand what I mean? Celebrating your losses with your kids, celebrating your wins with your kids, right? Shouting them
Yeah.
out. Like, I'm recognizing like a lot of like our kids post COVID, they're just not getting a lot of love. They're not getting a lot of recognition. They're not getting a lot of encouragement. That's why they're so struck. They're so caught up on social media because that instant dopamine. You understand what I mean? We ain't fast enough. You know what I
And
mean?
and to your point, we we create enemies out of things that don't have to be enemies, right? So my
Say
response
it.
to the TikTok, my response to the phone, my response to all these things is we're just going to ban it all. And our kids are, we got these things at my school called yonder pouches.
Yeah.
Yonder pouches, you know what they are?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
phone
so
pouches.
yeah, man, you put them
Yeah.
in the pouch, you lock that thing up, right? And
Yeah.
and and as you lock it up, you need a magnet to open it. But my kids, they're engineers. So they learned if you take that little needle and you bend it just a little bit, you can pop that thing back open. And so they've learned,
What?
oh my gosh, yes. They know how to do it. You should see them outside getting their Flintstones on, banging the end of the pouch on you should see them getting to it. And and I bring that up to say, like, listen, I'm with limitations, I'm with certain parameters for kids, and I think we need that,
They
right?
need
But
management for sure.
absolutely. But what an opportunity to say, all right, we learned this in our writing class, our ELA class, and we're talking about this concept. Do you have maybe there's a TikTok that you've watched that kind of brings out a point here, right? Well, what would you add to it? And sure, you got to screen it, and maybe you got to work for it, and maybe whatever. But now you're using their cultural artifacts where they are. Because here's the
Right.
thing: even as black male educators, generationally, we're not the same. Like there's differences between me and my kids, and I have to continuously be a student of my students. Because if I don't do that, then I'm going to assume because we look alike that we're going to vibe all the same way, and that's not true.
And we should have just said this too. Just because you're black male educated teaching black kids don't mean you're gonna be effective.
Come on,
You know what I
Doc.
mean? That don't mean you're gonna be effective, right? You
Right,
know
right,
that's not guaranteed, right? There's a
right.
correlation between race and culture, and you can use your culture, right, to allow people to understand where you come from, right? But culturally differently, kids knew I wasn't from Detroit when I first moved here. They could
Yeah,
tell. You know what I'm saying? They could tell how I talk. They could tell how I walk. They could tell how the
it's a
music. They could
whole
tell how the
different vibe.
shoes I wear. They can tell how I wear my pants. You understand
Yeah,
what I mean? They can tell how I tuck in my shirt, right? And so they're culturally complex, right? We can't just
yes,
assume they are all the same. And so, like you said, we gotta humble ourselves. We gotta
that's it.
know our audience. You remember you heard about what happened with Kai,
Talk to
the
me.
the TikToker? Kai, he's a
Oh, he went out to New York.
yeah, he's a Twitch streamer. You heard what happened?
So here's what I got. You let me know. You fill in the hole. So I heard
Yeah.
that the guy goes out to New York. He he made some promises to do a giveaway with some PS5s and some things, and so he gets out there and ain't nothing to give away. He don't have nothing. He just lied.
I mean, that's the number one thing he shouldn't have did, right? So just like
Right.
when we over present our kids, we over present to our kids, and then they it falls off short. They're like, that was it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then
Yeah.
also, even if say they said he gave away 3,500 PlayStations, bro, you didn't get no permits. You the number one Twitch streamer, TikTok streamer in the nation, bro. You gotta have better management, right? And so like
Yeah.
a lot of the
Yeah.
kids, right? They were mad, they were pissed off, right? And now it's just space and opportunity. How many of our kids just take space and opportunity in a lot of your classes, a lot of sometimes our classes, and they just try to fill in the void. They filled in the
Yeah.
void, and before you know it, old boy got like millions of dollars of fines, right? You know? But it just
Yeah.
all comes down to management, knowing your audience, knowing your range, being able to say no, right? And not just doing things spur
Yeah.
of the moment, right? Because our kids, they're like what Malcolm X said, black people, they're like pipe bombs. All you gotta do is pipe, and you know, we have that
Yeah.
much potential. We have that much ability to make change in short period of times, but without management, without organization, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that analogy, bro, because you think about that from the perspective, like you said, from the classroom. And I know that there are many, many teachers that reached into their bag of tricks, thought it was going to hit, and never really delivered on the promises that they made, and then expect kids to buy in the next day. They expect kids to have a level of rapport with them the next day. And then they're wondering, why isn't this thing working? Well, probably it's not working because you're going to a tactic to try to get through to a kid instead of being authentic to who you are and building genuine connection. And kids can smell
Yeah, bro.
inauthentic people a mile away. One thing they're gonna do is tell you what's real.
Now, would you say that kids are maybe putting too much on teachers that maybe they're maybe not getting from maybe at home or other systems in place? Do you think maybe that also is a case where teachers just feel like, because I'm sure a principal, you want a teacher that can also do all that, but then you also want a teacher that can just teach very well, effectively, right? And in
Yeah,
all, they do those things because they're effective, right?
yeah.
But some teachers like, yo, I just
I
want
ain't
to
got that.
teach.
I just want to teach. Yeah, I got a few of them. I got a few of them. I think that what we have to do is really redefine, like, we have to move away from entertainment as a
Mm,
pathway to learning, right?
mm,
What they do with their phones is entertainment. It happens. Like, so you don't need to bring anything to the table in order to be entertained.
mm,
You just need to sit and witness something.
mm.
And I think that sometimes in education, we have ascribed to, without saying it, a level of entertainment. And I don't want entertainment. I want inspiration.
Mm.
I want collective understanding. I want collective works. So what that means is,
Yeah.
I say this all the time, and I've used it before. But my kids, right? So when I say come down and let's eat, sometimes they walk past me and go sit their behinds down at the table, and I'm like, no, uh, you live in this house.
Right.
Go get you a fork. Go get you some napkins, get the plates, set the table, because we family. And then because we family, we all gonna work together to put something on this table. You can't come empty-handed. And in the same way, you build your class community in such a way that says, I'm not coming here. This ain't BK, have it your way. Like,
Right.
I'm coming with something in my hand to bring to it. So now it's more uh all of us collectively building something special versus me sitting down and wanting to be entertained.
And because like if you think about it, right, it's like I don't know. So the mayor, right, the mayor, his response to it, right, and this just shows like how out of touch he was. He just was like, yeah, man, we had outside agitators, and there would be, it's not that serious, people giving out Game Boys. Game
This
Boys.
this was Adams.
Yes, Game Boys, bro. Game Boys are 15 years, dog. So you imagine like that teacher, right, who thinks like the word Game Boy is going to get the kids to, like you said, entertain them, right?
Yeah,
Because the culture ain't real. It's like you wearing Reeboks and they out of style. You feel me?
yeah,
And you think
yeah,
you trying to be cool. You know what I'm saying? And you out of style. You played out because you ain't authentic, right? You ain't up
yeah,
hip. You ain't hip, right? Culture is forever changing. Culture is a verb, right? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It's forever
yeah,
changing. If you ain't hip to it, if you ain't connected, your ass gonna be lost in the sauce, right? And so it's the
100%.
same thing when you're talking about building relationship with your kids, and even now more kids are not. I mean, I see with my daughter, I don't raise my daughter how my uncle raised me. You know what I'm saying? When she swat away from me, I'm not gonna slap her back. I'm gonna be like, that's not nice. But I ain't gonna slap her
Yeah,
back. You know what I'm saying? Because it's
yeah,
different, right? We understand trauma. We understand those things, right? And it's the same thing with teaching. Like sometimes we gotta just listen, right? And uh,
absolutely.
listen a lot, listen more, listen. And it's hard because we think it's hard.
We done got a degree for this, so we should know. We should be doing most of the talking, and it's like, well, you understand how learning works, right? And you understand how the method of education works. If you understand that education means to draw out,
Yeah, brother.
instead of this banking model, shout out to Paulo Freire, like if you don't understand that, then what you're going to do is come into the classroom and think you have everything to give and everybody should be listening to you, versus
Whew.
coming in and setting an environment whereby which everybody can give and we all get from this collective gumbo that we making together, right? And I hope that people who will listen to this, will get one, like you said, borrow from the prophet Kendrick Lamar and sit down
Sit
and be
down,
humble
brother.
and really think through who you want to be as an educator, what you want your students to learn, how you want them to be engaged, and then from that space and from that humility begin to really look at and analyze, reflect. Like
Yeah,
we overlook the power of reflection. Did I get it right? Where am I messing up? Who's missing? Like we collect data all the time for all the things, but when's the last time you really looked at data to figure
it
out like
makes no
what students
sense,
am I
bro. It makes no
calling on?
sense.
What who did I call on? Why am I focusing on this section of my class? Am I calling on the young ladies? Am I calling on the young men? Where are my biases showing up? Like we're not doing that type of work. We're collecting data that tells a story that we want to tell. So we'll make the numbers make sense for us.
But you know how I blame? I blame the TikTok teachers.
Uh oh.
I blame them because they make it seem so easy, right? They think that viewership and entertainment is educating kids when you're just that's not it. You know what I'm saying? You can't I mean sometimes you can, right? If you're amazing, but that's a module, right? That's one little aspect. Okay, what's the unit? You feel me, right?
Yeah.
It's so many teachers that just think they can come in and just do what they're doing on TikTok when it's like you are a social scientist. You are
Mm,
studying your
mm,
you know what I'm saying? You're studying your students.
that's it.
And every class is going to be culturally
Yeah,
different. So every lesson
100%.
has to be culturally different. Or at least you got to
Yes.
understand that, right?
Yes.
You got to know when they eating sloppy joes at lunch that the same curriculum I did in second hour ain't gonna work for fifth hour. So I got to change something up, right? It's
Absolutely.
the ability to pause, reflect, like the real
Yep.
artists, right? Because we so the reason why I say TikTok because we so caught up in trying to look famous than actually be. You understand what I mean?
That's it.
Actually be it. Like if you
That's
can
it.
actually be it, I can wear this shirt and interview Barack Obama and still be like authentically myself because I know I can do my damn job.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
That's it.
because it's in the art, right? Kanye is an artist, right? And he is the most polarizing artist, but we love him so much because his art is forever changing. He's always challenging himself. He's always doing things differently. He's
Mm,
always, you know what I'm saying, working with different people and still creating a
mm,
masterpiece, right? That is what
mm.
teaching is. You are looking at your lesson, you're looking at your data. I got 70% mastery. Why did I only get 70% mastery? Well, I got 70% mastery because I didn't accommodate enough for these scholars who I have probably haven't been accommodating, these last couple months. So let me dedicate that. I promise you, you might get 5% growth, right?
Yeah.
But that's not
Yeah.
something you can put on TikTok and explain and get people to care about education. So like it's so ass backwards sometimes. Like people should be
Yeah.
coming to us. We should be coming to TikTok.
Yeah. 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 And it goes back to, um, you know, a lot of it is kind of been a marketing campaign for some people. It has been
Branding.
branding, yeah, and and I get it, right? Like, don't
I
get me
get it
wrong. Like,
too.
it's what we have to do for some of the stuff that we're trying to build, and I totally get it. So that's not a knock on the branding aspect of things, but when your branding becomes inauthentic to the profession, becomes inauthentic to what we do, it leaves so many holes and gaps in our understandings of what it actually means to be an educator, to be a leader, to be all the things that we have to be. And I think we're doing the profession a disservice. And so
Right.
I love, like, not only is it humility, not only is it learning your students, but it is also, we got to bring authenticity back
and,
to the
and so
profession.
and so to give you a story, right? So I got
Yeah.
this national science funding grant, the University of Michigan, working with a really dope, person,
Yeah.
professor. We're gonna learn about biodiversity, right? We're gonna grow biodomes, right? And I'm just gonna get kids into it, right? I just want to get them to grow plants. They're gonna grow their
Okay.
own food. I'm
Okay.
thinking, yo, they're gonna grow plants and they're gonna have their own biodome and they're gonna come and water these plants every single day. You know what? I'm also gonna attach a little microcontroller to it so you can control a fan, control light. I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you everything. I'm gonna give you everything you need. I'm gonna give you everything I think you need, right? That's the key word, think you need, right?
Yeah.
And what mistake did I make? I just literally did everything without asking them. So we grew the biodomes. They got to experience it. I got growth, but the utility value. How is this relevant to my life? We lost growth in that. We didn't get growth in utility value. I don't care about
Yeah.
growing plants. I don't care, right? Because I probably never asked them, right? I didn't ask them what type of plants I wanted to grow, right? And so
Yeah.
as a teacher, I can like that's gonna hurt. You know what I'm saying? It hurts a little bit. I'm watering all the plants. I'm pissed off, right? But I got to be reflective and understand, I have to be more intentional. I have to be more
Yeah.
intentional, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think about it this way, and this is early on in my career. I taught in Camden, New Jersey, right? So
Yeah.
voted most dangerous city to live in. Like, this is
Yeah.
this is this is Camden, and um, at the end of our year, we had these projects that we made the students do. They were cross curricular, and they
Mm.
had a social justice focus,
Yep.
and it sounded really, really great. Don't get me wrong, it was wonderful. The kids bought in, they liked it. Some kids really took off, and it really was a home run for some. But as I look back on those moments, here was the problem: we had a social justice unit, but none of my year was focused on those things. I had a couple lessons here and there,
Yeah.
right? And part of that is because as I look back on that time, like, I was struggling to learn how to be, and this is my first few years. Like, you're gonna struggle, right? Like,
Right.
I go back, I still am connected to those kids. I apologize all the time. I'm like, yo, like, I was
That's a
really not.
part of teaching, though. That's a part of
Yeah,
teaching.
yeah,
Recognizing when
absolutely.
you ask.
I was terrible, bro. I was deep left bench, not getting any type of playing time, trash, right? And so
Yeah.
I recognize that. I recognize, how much growth I needed at that time. And so for me, that's part of the joy of being on this leadership side, is to say to somebody like, yo, I know. Like, I get it in a real way. Even now, people think, oh, well, you're on the other side and you're doing these things. And like, yo, there are some, like, this last year, how much reflection, how much growth I still need as a leader. And it's never going to stop, but I
Right.
enjoy it. Like, I love this.
Right.
I'm built for this, bro. And that stuff still gets me excited about this. So
Yeah, brother.
let me do this real quick, because
Yeah.
I love our vibe, and I want to bring something here. I
Yeah.
think that for our listeners, they would hear this and they're like, man, this is great, and they feel inspired and they want to do these things, right? So I want to talk about this. Let's talk specifically to the 2% right now. And let's say that they are in leadership, let's say they are a teacher, let's say whatever role that they are in. Uh, what are some things that if we would just had a huddle real quick with all the 2%, and we're just vibing and talking, what are some things that you feel like need to be at the center of that conversation to help move us forward?
Yeah, man. Yeah, so again, just recognizing, like, as men we have privilege. Even as like black men, we are marginalized. We still have privileges, right? Because
Big facts.
a school will scoop you up in a matter of fact just because you're a black male, but you don't want that because you want them to scoop you up because of your competency, right? Your culturally
Absolutely.
competency, right? And so
Yeah.
you want to ensure that your visible isn't overpowering your inner.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you gotta kind of like prove yourself always, all the time. You understand what I mean? Like, not
Yeah.
prove that you're smart, but you have to show out. You
Mm,
know what I mean? You gotta like be excellent. So, for
yeah.
example, when we had our graduation, we weren't required to wear the graduation garments. We weren't
Yeah.
required. Mr. Nellum wore his graduation garment because I got my master's in it. You understand what I mean? And I
Yeah.
did my speech. My speech was excellent because I practiced it 56 times.
Yeah.
And people walked up to me and it was like, thank you for speaking and thank you for wearing your garment, because what it's showing is that no matter where I come from, no matter what I look like, I can do that because Mr. Nellum did it. And he did it
Yeah.
playing 2K. He did it playing basketball. He did it doing all the other stuff that y'all did. I tell the kids all the time, I'm nice in 2K. I'm nice in sports. I'm nice in STEM. I'm nice in everything. You got to be nice in everything, y'all. You can't just be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You gotta show out, right? And so just let them understand. With that though, give your ass grace, right?
Yeah.
Don't feel like you got to say the world. Don't feel
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? Just because you didn't get it today, you won't get it tomorrow. 1% every day. Try to give you. If I can do the 1%, Ron Clark. I got that from Ron Clark. If I could do
Yep.
1% every day, eventually, because you are a black male, you are automatically infectious. You're automatically elite. Like, they're gonna want to lead because no, it's just what it is, dog. You know what I'm saying? That's how the world works, right? So use that
Yeah.
to your advantage. Allow your excellence to speak for you. Always be humble, smile, show empathy, show humility, show emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Yeah.
And when you do that, you know, like to your point about it being infectious, you give young boys the permission to be their authentic self, to show the breadth of our experience. Like I'm not afraid if something is emotional to cry in front of my kids. I want you to know it's okay.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
and at the same time, don't let this shirt and tie fool you. Um, if
Show
I
them the
need to,
tiger. Show them the
that's it.
tiger. Or
That's it.
teach them that the tiger should never be absent, but it should be forever present when needed.
That's it. That's it. And it gives us permission to show little black boys that they can be all of those things and have depth and range and permission to be and to breathe and to exist. And I want the 2%. If y'all are listening, and you know I know you are, whatever place that you get to walk into, don't forget the ancestors whose shoulders we stand on.
Yeah.
Don't forget the community who is cheering you on. And don't forget that your existence gives permission to the young boys who are looking to you.
Yeah, man.
And I think if we do that, we'll walk with excellence and be all that we need to be now and into the future. And I hope that one day we could look at this and be like, man, it's 10%. Man, what happened?
Yeah.
I would love for that to happen as well. You know what I mean?
And that's really the goal, right? Just incrementally getting better, allowing yourself to give grace, stepping down for someone else to come back up, and
That's it.
being advocates for other marginalized groups, because we're vanguards, right? When black males are in the room, suspension rates go down. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Grades go up, right?
Yeah.
When I leave my class, when I'm sick, fights usually happen. When I'm in my class, fights don't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's not just saying because, usually kids fight because they don't feel like they're protected, and the adults are not protecting them, right? And so it's a lot more than that. But just understand though, like, excellence. You have to be excellence. You have to have high expectations for yourself. You got to be a true pedagogue. A true pedagogue is reflective in their craft, and they love their craft, right? And they understand that just because you are highly effective on a rating doesn't mean you're highly effective.
I'm gonna let that sit.
Yeah,
so,
man.
bro, how can the Liberation Lab community support you, connect with you? How can they tap into your work?
yeah, brother, man. So please check out the Calvin Nellum podcast. I just came out with a new episode called Distance Cousins. I'm also interviewing a new artist called Seven out of the Las Vegas scene, man. I'm just all over the place. But if you want to support me, please just subscribe, like, share, leave a comment. I'm here to have authentic conversations because I'm you. You know what I'm saying? I'm an educator. We all had educators, and I'm the educator that hopefully wants to get you not only to love me, but I want to reach your hearts because, I got something to show you. I got something to tell you, man. I'm coming from the 504 from Virginia, but now I'm in the 313, Detroit. What's up? What up, though? I just got my honorary Detroit license, so I can say that now. Before I wasn't able to say that.
Okay.
But yeah, please support the podcast, y'all. Watch it. If you like it, dislike it, let me know. Leave a comment because I'm trying to get to 50 episodes by the end of the year. That's the goal. You know what I'm saying? And just, continue to support Bobby because Bobby is an authentic educator. Bobby is a teacher. I remember I met Bobby, through Clubhouse when everyone was, going through the pandemic, but he was still the same Bobby, pro-black, pro-LGBTQIA, pro-woman, authentically, right? And just like doing it every single day through Instagram lives, through workshops, right? This brother does workshops, right? He's doing the work, so please continue to support him. Let's blow him up because we got enough celebrities getting contracts and million. We need you getting a contract. I need to get the contract so we can continue to do this great work, bro, because it's real work.
It is, brother. And thank you for the work you do, for you stepping up and being consistent, brother. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we
brother.
never know how people are moved by the fact that we're just present and we're there. So thank you for that, man.
Yes. And the last thing I'll say, give yourself grace. This year I gave myself the most grace because I didn't have a lot of money. I had to pay for childcare. I was late most of the time because I was trying to figure out how to be a dad. And I told them that. I was honest about it. I never regretted it. I gave myself grace. And I was kind to myself. And I got Teacher of the Year.
Wow.
And I don't know how, but I think it's because I was kind to myself, so people were kind to me. So be kind to yourself. Be honest. Trusting your admin or your coaches to walk you through this long game called teaching Black, BIPOC, white kids in America, man, because we 45th in education. So we got to figure that shit out.
Big facts.
Yeah,
Big
bro.
Facts. Appreciate you, homie.
Yeah, man. I hope I did you justice, man. I hope I wasn't talking too much.